Awesome. So let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Vicky and I'm a second year student doing commerce and computer science. So what I'll be running you guys through today is what is UX, right? How you go about really designing and starting off your UX journey. And then we're finishing off with a little bit of a workshop where I'm going to give you guys a project to do. And then we'll have one-on-one consultations and you guys can give me Q&A or anything like that at the end. So it's really nice to meet all of you guys. There's quite a few here today and I'm glad to see that. So yeah, let's get started. So the user experience. So what actually is UX designing? So it is basically the connection between a core company product and an end user. Oh, sorry, my dog's just walking through. So what this does is really it's a link between what your company is actually trying to provide and what your end user is actually trying to use. So the thing is that the user experience designer designs the entire, like every point of contact a customer has with your product, right? So this is not only inclusive of your interface itself, like your website or whatnot, right? It's inclusive of everything from marketing to your onboarding to what types of products are integrated, right? So quickly going through these, the onboarding process is basically looking at what types of, like how bothered is your customer, right? In reading, in looking and onboarding onto your actual product. Because nowadays, you know that the attention span of a person is about 12 seconds or something, and then first impressions happen in 3 seconds. So what you have to do is that within those 10 seconds, you need to get the customer to be able to understand your product in that amount of time. Otherwise, they're going to leave, right? So then that's the first step. Then it's product integration. So looking at not only do you have cross-platform integration between multiple products under your same brand. For example, like Atlassian has a lot of different products which they have integrated with each other where you can send files really easily from one side to another. Or do you have product integration from externally? So do you have the ability to log in through your Google account? So looking at that section as well. And then on top of that is the interface design and the actual product itself. So then we have the terms UI and UX lumped together a lot of the time, but to distinguish these two, the UI is designing just the interface itself, right? Because it's literally called user interface. But user experience is a lot more hands-on with clients, a lot more research and end-to-end sort of contact, yeah. So when you're looking at the user experience, like what are the main considerations? The first is product and the second is the user, right? So let's have a look at the first one first. For product, you look at firstly the company capabilities. Unfortunately, in the workplace, when you're trying to design a product, a lot of the times you're not able to do a lot of the features that you want to because your company doesn't have enough funds, doesn't have enough developers to actually be able to do that. So the thing is that that is your first benchmark limitation when you're designing a product. Then secondly, it's the core goal of the product interface. Now there's two types of goals when you're looking at a product. The first is the goal of the actual product itself, right? So this is what does the product want to do, right? What is the core features and fundamental, I guess, aspects of the product that make it the product itself. And the second goal is the goal of the product interface. So this is, you design the product to make the customer feel a certain way, right? To either stay on your product, stay on your platform for longer, right? Build a level of trust, build a level of insight, something like that, right? And that's the type of thing that you need to build with your product interface. Now, secondly, for your user, you have your user persona. So you have to look into who is actually going to need my product and want to use it. So the reason why I distinguish those two things is because the people who need your product don't necessarily want to use it, right? And that's like a weird thing about people is that they only want to use things that they enjoy or they feel like they're pushed to need from marketing, right? So I'll provide an example of that differentiation. So one of my friends started a startup which did legal services for small and medium businesses, right? Because he saw that there was literally no other product out there right now that does that seamlessly. But the thing is that after he created the product, small and medium businesses don't really care about their legal finances, right? They're small enough to, be able to avoid a lot of the logistical things anyways. So they're not willing to actually pay for that product, even though they technically need it, right? So really having a deep look into user persona is really important to be able to build your product. Now, the second thing is user expectation. Now, this kind of stuff is very intuitive, but also at the same time, it's something that's unique to each user persona. So stuff like design, languages, features, which are familiar to the customer. For example, if your user persona is old, right, of like an elderly age, then their language and the designs which they're used to are very, very different to the things that millennials are used to right now, right? And the thing is that a lot of people our age, when we're designing a product, have an issue where we place our own jargon and our own intuitive designs on these elderly people because, or like on every other age demographic, because that's what we're used to. But unfortunately, that's not the norm, yeah? So let's go through a couple of example companies. So let's have a look at Facebook, very well-known social media platform, right? The core goal of this product interface is to connect people, right? It's to share information and provide a platform that's easy to use and allows media transfer. But the thing is what's the goal of the product interface? It's not to connect people. It's to keep people on the platform for as long as possible, right? Because what's the value in Facebook if none of my friends are on Facebook Messenger, right? I would never go on again. So the thing is that you have to understand Facebook as a core company, the value that they have is in the data, right? In how much user data they have from everyone else. And the way that they gain that is through having users stay on for as long as possible. So then for that, you then look at the user persona. Okay, so how does Facebook leverage upon knowing their user really well to keep them on for even longer? Not sure if you guys noticed, but in the past few years, Facebook has changed their language and the way that I guess they show media to people. Not only is it targeted now, right? They analyze like your data trends, what you like, what you dislike to show you ads that you would prefer, but they also use jargon that's similar to your date age demographic or your regional demographic. They say good morning and good afternoon. They have birthday posts. They have memory recaps. Even the way the posting line, the line where you like make posts, it's like, what are you thinking today, right? Rather than like, here you can post something or like write something you want to post, So the language choice is actually really important for people to keep using a platform like social media. Now let's look at a different company. So Commonwealth Bank is a financial institution, so it has different goals. So the product goal itself is to show transactions, right? It's to show how much money you have, allow you to move money around, and allow you to gain help and recommendations to the platform. But the thing is that the product goal is actually not to do that. The interface goal, sorry. The interface goal is to gain trust of the customers, right? Because what does having the ability to see all your financial transactions on your mobile screen do? It gains trust that A, the bank is not doing anything funny with your money, and B, you know exactly what's going on, and you feel secure in saving that much money with a financial institution like that, right? The ability and the control that I now have over my own bank statements is the trust that's built between me and Commonwealth Bank, right? And that's built because of the way that the product is displayed. Now, if you access your banking account and the first thing you see is not how much money you have, but like, oh, you can get this new card, or like, we have this new plan, right? Like instantly in your mind, you're like, where's my money, right? Like that's not what I want to see. So then that's where UX really builds on for companies like this. Now, finally, when we look at large companies like Google, I mainly wanted to focus on this for user expectations, right? for a lot of large companies, like Facebook, Google, Instagram, whatnot, they allow you now to link up your account through them. I'm sure you guys have seen, right? And that is strangely a user expectation right now. I want to be able to log in to basically any type of platform or website with my Google account. I don't want to click more, or I don't want to do more, right? And the thing with that is that you have to understand that the users are inherently lazy people. They want the solution instantaneously. They don't want to have a 20-second onboarding time, right, for them to understand a product. They don't want to spend an extra 10 seconds creating an account where they can just click on Google and make that more seamless. So then these are some of the considerations you need to have in your mind before you create a product. So now that we've had the core considerations, let's have a look at what it actually looks like, the journey of a UX designer, right? So with the two things in consideration, you have 5 steps to developing a user experience. The first is product definition. So this is similar to what I've explained already with the product previously. So, but in real life, when you're working in UX, it's a lot of client work. You have to scout out customers, potential customers and existing customers, and talk to them about what they expect your product to be, right? A lot of conversations are going on in this first stage, right? You talk to them, you plan out what their expectations are. Then you also are involved with the design team, you're involved with your business manager and product manager to get you across your business strategy. And the outcomes of this particular phase is user personas, user stories, and use case diagrams. So user personas is sort of like the end customer profile, almost. Their age, their morals, their demographic, everything like that is in the user persona. Now, the user persona now has user stories. User stories are basically use case stories where they recount a particular event which has affected their experience with a particular product. So, for example, you know, if it's a financial institution, they would recount how this banking thing helped them, or how they experienced really difficult times and pain points inside their journey whilst working with a particular product, right? And then finally, sorry, use case diagrams is in what situations, right? You basically take your personas and their stories, and then you map out what situations do people actually want to use our product, right? And then that gives you a really good understanding of where to start with your product and developing it. Now, the second stage is research. So when you're researching, you have to understand your competition, right? See who else is in the landscape and how they're designing their current products. So so first is our current competition. Then you have to study your existing domain. So studying your existing domain means any UI trends and expectations that are coming about. This is mainly of the user, so things that the user expects of the person who's designing it. So like there's a couple of logical design techniques, which I'll teach you guys in a bit, but basically a lot of research has to come into this to really analyze who your customers are and what they expect, right? And finally, an interesting one is to go through competitor strategy, right? Look at what they're doing, what they have done, and how the customers have reacted to it. Chances are you're targeting people who have already been targeted by other people, right? So then when you look at that particular case study, you can then avoid any mistakes that they have made and improve on that, which is really great, right? So that's definitely something that you want to do. You don't want to make a mistake that's already been done. Next is analysis. So you take all the information that you got from product definition and research, and you analyze that. And you create a hypothetical persona. So this hypothetical persona is basically like an imaginary person who fits exactly the type of customer that you're targeting, right? Because if you're developing a good product, it means you're developing a product that hasn't been done before or hasn't exactly been done before. You're adding something on top of what already exists, which means that there has to be a new type of person which really wants that particular feature that you've developed, right? So that's your hypothetical persona. And then you also have experience maps, which is basically like a customer journey, right? You have end-to-end what the customer experiences with your product, right? And then with this visual representation, you can really see where you need to interact with your customer in order to produce a better user interface. Now, finally, the section that, you know, everyone thinks is step number one is actually designing the product itself. So first you sketch it. It's pretty simple. You just draw out main features, screens, etc. Next is wireframing. So wireframing is basically plotting out page hierarchy. So I'll give you a quick example of this if I can. Whoa, that's not it. Sorry, give me a second. Excuse the name. But yeah, so this is what a wireframe looks like. On a very basic level, I did this in a hackathon, please don't judge it. But basically what it looks like is that you have a name for each of your pages, right? And you can see logically that each line is a different thought process that a person travels through, right? So for example, for this user login main, blah, 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 you'd be able to click through this entire journey, and this would be a checkout journey to purchase an item. The next would be, how would you track an item, right? You'd go through the second line, and that is your journey for that. So the structure of the actual frames is basically the skeleton of your design. And it allows it to be really easily explained to your project manager or whatever, right? And that's why it's being used to make more sense to other people. So the second thing is actual prototyping. So prototyping is basically when you have a wireframe like this, and then you have an interactive app like this, where you can click around and stuff like that, you know? So this is what a prototype is, and you would provide, and prototypes are non-coded, by the way, if you guys are like, oh, I can't do it. Yeah, it's relatively simple. It's basically a bunch of pictures placed together, but you do this so that you can show your future customers or your hypothetical personas, right? And then get feedback, direct feedback from them on what that is. So let's go back to the presentation. So the final stage after designing is validation. There's two things that you need to validate: usability and user testing. So usability is easy to use, right? Do all the buttons link? Does the text make sense? And everything like that. And the user testing is what I brought up before. Do users actually need and want my product, right? So once you've created the prototype, you now have something that's working for the customer to test. Now, if they're using it and they say, okay, actually these features aren't useful, you go all the way back to the beginning. Again, you consult with your manager, etc., and then you go through the whole process and you design something else. So yeah, that's validation. So now we're going to do a little bit more of an interactive sort of thing. So I know you guys see Moodle, you're like, ugh. But we're going to take Moodle and we're going to try and make it better, right? So your task is to create a new feature or interface for Moodle application or website, right? So the things listed below, I want you guys to just think about, list them out, and just, yeah. So the goal of Moodle platform, what is it actually trying to do? What's the interface working as? Find possible areas of improvement. Then look at your target customers for, I guess, the areas of improvement. And then really understand why this feature actually fits those criteria. On the other hand, you can also try and map out your own product if you have an idea, or if you have like a previous project that you want to improve on, that's fine as well. What we will do is have, how this section of the workshop will work is that we'll have one-on-one consultations, which you guys message in the group chat and let the CSESoc people know when you want to go into a one-on-one consultation with me. So this can be for this project, or it can be for any Q&A that you want to ask, or just for a chat, I don't know. But basically what I want you guys to all do now is log on to this site. So this site is something that I have researched for this workshop. So if everyone follows the link that I just popped in the chat and make a free account. So this is a pretty user-friendly, new user-friendly UI plotting thing. So I'll give you guys about 2 minutes to make an account, and then I'm going to give you guys a quick tutorial on how to use it. Yeah. Okay, cool. If anyone needs more time, let me know, but I'm just going to give a quick tutorial on the basics of, yeah, Fluid UI. So this is a free site which you can get anytime. So I'm just going to delete these. Okay, so let's say we're starting from scratch, which I assume everyone is starting from scratch. So to add new page, there's a little icon over here to add new page. You just click on the page to zoom in. Now, when we're zoomed in, you can do quite a few things. They have widgets and things like that on the side over here that you can just click and add in. So let's say you can, yeah. So
sorry,
if you
Vicky, we have a question. Which device are we designing for?
That's your choice to do. So you can do website or mobile application. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the mobile app, but it's, I think the formatting is relatively similar to the website. The like screen sizing and stuff is good, but the way that you flick through is relatively similar. Yeah. You can just download it in the App Store if you guys want to have a look at that first. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now let's say we clicked into a new screen. You can choose iOS, material design, Windows. There's a bunch of different things you can select. So let's say I go with iOS, right? Now it provides you with a bunch of options that you can get from iOS design. So then let's just make something simple. Say I was meant to do this. Just if you guys don't know, you can use your up, down, left, right keys to move 1 pixel at a time to format things. And then you can just create whatever you'd like. You can add text here, you know. Ooh. So let's say I'm creating a link, right? So let's first duplicate this page, which I highly recommend you guys do, because you see formatting and things like that. A lot of the times when you're creating a next screen, if you click a link, it does one thing, but everything else stays the same. For example, the bottom bar always stays the same, the top bar always stays the same, profile, everything like that always stays the same. So it's very good to duplicate your base screen many times and then create your option flow. And then from here, in order to create links between your pages and buttons, there's a little button on the top left over here. That's a little square with a thing in it where it says hotspot. So if you click that, you can draw a box of any size. That's the button that you want to use. So let's say I just do it big enough for this. And then when you go here, you can link using the link on the top right. Yeah. When you add link, it lets you point anywhere you want if you have multiple pages. So just go to the next page when I do that. Other things you can do, you can change background color. Gosh, this is really ugly right now. This is only a demonstration. And also when you add things like this, that is already set, right? You can change the wording in here. Yeah. anything that you would like. So this goes the same for bottom bars, right? Let's say you want a 2-button bottom bar. You would move one of these in. You can change the text here, right? And you can also change the items, I believe, to symbols that they have here. So you can access symbols and icons here, right? So the iOS icons, there's a bunch over here. There's also some things here. So when you want to do, like, not for mobile phones, if you want to do the website version, you can have a try on the Windows 8 tablets, which give you options which are much larger, if you can see this, than your iOS ones, which are designed for the website. So they even have pop-up notifications and things like that. Let me think. Are there any other questions? Or are you guys okay to start? So if you click the any of the top things on the top left, right, you can basically just draw any type of icon that you would like, change the coloring to, to whatever you want, and then make that a link or make it even just a graphic at the back. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and do that now.
So we have a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, so the process for Fluid UI is very similar to most other UX programs. The thing about UX programs is that if you know one, you sort of know how to use all of them. The differences is that for Fluid UI, they give you pre-made widgets already, right? Or like pre-made sections, which you can just drag and drop. That's the only difference, I think, with Fluid UI and the more professionally used ones like Adobe XD, which was what I was using beforehand. For Adobe XD, it is a little bit more extensive, but basically if you look on the left, it's just a bunch of boxes and circles that you can make, which is the only things that you have. So you don't have any type of pre-made widgets for that, which you do have in Fluid UI. Is there a way to bring up snap to grid? I'm sorry, I don't know what snapping is.
It's when you can align things really easily with other objects.
Oh, no, I don't think so. With this, sorry, I'm like relatively new with using Fluid UI right now, but unfortunately, I don't think they have that. I think that you can align things by just moving them and, oh gosh. And I think margin lines come up when you do that, if you see, when you're trying to align objects to left and top. But yeah, I don't think there's a way to like align top or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Regarding Adobe XD, is it an application? Is it a free application?
So Adobe XD is paid, but you can have a 7-day free trial, I believe, with Adobe Creative. So for Adobe, if you guys want to try it in Adobe XD, feel free to just download it now. And I think that for certain programs, a university might help, but that I'm not sure on because I don't do like an arts degree or anything like that. But yeah, like if you guys want to, the only thing with doing Adobe XD now is because it's difficult because you have to actually download the application, and I'm not sure if you can actually do it online. But if you guys want to go ahead and do that, it'll probably take just like 10 minutes for you. Yeah. Any more questions?
Hey, just a quick question on like what your thoughts on Sketch are. It's pretty much the same thing, right?
So is this Sketch.io?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think actually my previous company used Sketch for their UX. So it's pretty good at mapping and wireframing as well. So like if you guys already have existing programs that you use, definitely just use those if you're comfortable with. My previous company was Wiser, which is a fintech company. But yeah, so if you're more comfortable with Sketch, feel free to use that. That's very good. I just suggested Flow UI as a like very beginner-based sort of program to use. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I think what will happen now is I'm going to stay in this chat until someone wants to go onto a one-on-one consultation. Just message in the chat when you want to do that. And then after that, I think, yeah. Oh, yeah, sure thing. So how to edit the title of each wireframe. I believe you can, oh, there is snapping. Oh, so sorry. It's here. So when you click on the actual page and you click into settings, you can edit the page like here. Yeah. And that will show up, should show up on your main page. Did I not change it? Yeah, I changed it. Okay. Good question. No, there's no coding in UX and UI. So UX and UI is very design focused. And then front end coding is replicating UX and UI into code and actually creating a product. Do you need, so if you want to export, you need a paid account. From what I know, you only need one. Oh yes, you probably do need a paid account to export. But if you're creating like this type of thing for a portfolio or something like that, screenshots is the only thing that you actually need, or like video recordings of your prototype preview. So yeah, we want to create a UX portfolio aside from some research, creating posts on it. So when you're creating a UX portfolio, it's really important to map out your thought process. So like research and stuff, you actually don't need to include. That is basically for you to have like good judgment. So not only having a persona or like market, target market that you want to have, you need to have sketches, right? So they want to see multiple versions of your final product and how you sort of went back and forth and fixed things, right? So the actual wireframing and final prototype, right? That's not what they want to see, because they want to see, I guess, your thought process going from end to end. So they want photographs of your sketches, right? When you literally hand draw all the screens and features and map them out. And then from there, specific screen designs, and then even just like stuff that you fix and then why you fixed that, right? They really want to see like your reasoning for that product rather than just how great your product is in the end product. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Viv? Yeah, so how you would do links to, sorry, one. Yeah, so after you, remember how I showed you how to do links to different pages? How you simulate a transition is actually you copy and paste the entire page and then you link to that page with that one transition. So for example, if you wanted like a tab pop down and up, right? What you would do is you have a page with the tab closed, a page, exactly the same page with the tab open, and then you would link those buttons to each other. So if I click this one, it opens the tab. And then if I click this one, it closes the tab. So yeah, that's how it works.
So now we have kind of one-on-one consultations for anyone who kind of requests it with Vicky. So we've set one person to a breakout room and Vicky will come back whenever she's done with it, and you can ask her more questions in the main room or ask for a one-on-one as well later on. But yeah, in the current time, you could just continue working on your UX and UI design.